Welcome back to this lecture for process planning and cost estimation. Here, Murli Subramanian. So last class we discussed about the generative type computer process planning. Here we are going to discuss about make or buy decision and some introduction about break-even analysis. So it is unavoidable that the question will come to all the industry about whether we are going to purchase a product from the external vendor or outside vendor, or we made it internally. I assume like a one industry, manufacturing industry, planning to create appliances like consider like a mixer, or if you consider a two-wheeler bike, or if you consider a four-wheeler, n number of components are there, right? So that particular industry will need to decide some point that time they will be having a question like whether we are going to buy the material from vendor or we have to make it. Consider one piston and connecting rod assembly. One piston and connecting rod assembly. It has a piston, connecting rod, and rings kind of thing. So the industry needs to think whether I'm going to do the piston, I'm going to do the connecting rod, I'm going to make the rings. So many things like bolt and nut or bushers, washers, everything is set up kind of comes under as the assembly part that piston and connecting rod assembly, right? So whether the company needs to think whether I'm going to buy each and every individual components in that piston and connector rod from external vendor and assemble it together and put it in my engine, or whether I'm going to make each and every component for that piston and connecting rod assembly in my industry itself, then put it assembled together and put it inside the engine, or make only piston, buy the connecting rod from external vendor, other screws and bolt fasteners from other bushes from other vendors and assemble. Like at some point of time, they need to make a decision whether to buy it either one or other multiple product from a vendor and assemble or make it. So this is unavoidable in any industry. Okay. Of course, each and every manufacturers raw material they will be purchasing from the suppliers. Suppliers in the sense what kind of mining industry, like raw materials needed. So mining industry they get that raw material. After that, what? So some of the production companies only do every process in house, starting from the raw material, like taking from the mining industry, put that raw material under the furnace, prepare a mold, casting, machining, assembling, and all. But not all the company do think about that way because of the feasibility. So the make or buy decision is very, very unavoidable for any industry. So given that a company purchases some of its starting material, it is reasonable to question whether the company should purchase the parts that would otherwise be made in its own factory. The answer to the question is, as I said, make or buy decision. The make or buy question is probably appropriate to ask for every component used by the particular company. Don't think about it's a screw or it's a washer. Whether to make that washer or it's you need to buy that from the external vendor, it should be thought in the industry. Until otherwise, we are going to lose on that. Okay, so it is very, very important question. In terms of make or buy, if make or buy in the sense, the vendor will be giving kind of unit cost, multiple vendors will be giving a unit cost for our component required. Then we need to have a decision on that between our group of people, whether what is material cost, if we want to make that in our assume like yes, that particular washer, one washer itself. What is the material cost required for that washer? How much labor, direct labor going to involve to make that washer? What is the labor overhead, like the overhead charge means so supervisors kind of thing, administrators kind of labor overhead. What kind of equipment is needed to make the washer? Whether it's a operating cost or it's a fixed cost, equipment fixed cost is needed. Other costs like ideal costs or quality check kind of thing. Multiple details are there. Information is needed, right? So if we get information from vendor for that particular washer, we need to check whether if we do it in our industry itself, how much cost, what are the cost splits are there to make. So everything we need to sit down and analyze and compare whether it is comparatively lesser or greater than going with the vendor. If it is greater means better to go with vendor. If we could able to make that within our industry itself, we can able to. So for that we should have some template kind of thing or price value, base value. So that's why we need to go for vendor and get that information out of that thing. So in that case, we should have every information pertaining to that process to make that particular washer. Like what machine is being used, what is the material cost required, what are the sequence of operation needed to make that particular washer. Okay, what is the size of that washer dimensions, like because washers are in different sizes, thicknesses, and there's a hole with the washer. What kind of material washer? Not necessarily metal alone, like rubber washers also there, right? So material, because depends on that the manufacturing process or the equipments needed or machineries needed is different, right? Are we going to invest for making washer? Are we going to invest some machineries? It's not only about what to say. If we are investing, how many number of washers we are going to make? Only for few numbers investing machine may for making washer. Assume like you need only 1,000 washers. For the 1,000 washers, if you are planning to invest huge equipment, it's no meaning, right? So again, we should have a clear idea like how many number of washers, how many years are we going to do. So this is also needs to be considered. So this will comes under make or buy decision. So one example, with the one example I would like to explain so that you can able to connect what to do with the make or buy decision. The quoted part price from a vendor. Yeah, one particular vendor is telling that we need 1,000 components or 1,000 products. For each product, the vendor is telling it's $8 per unit. So one unit is $8. So we need 1,000 components. So vendor gave us the quote with each and every each product cost for $8. If we make the same part made in the home factory, would cost us $9. So how they understood calculated, as I explained in the previous thing, we need to analyze about the material cost, we need to analyze the direct labor, overhead cost, equipment cost, or other quality inspection cost or ideal cost, what are the things involved and involved on that particular product. We need to collectively gather the information and make the cost. So the same part if we make in our own industry, it would cost 9. So what are the cost breakdown for the $9? It is given. The unit material cost for the one particular product is $2.25. Direct labor involved for making the particular one product is $2. Overhead charges, labor overhead charges in the 150 percentage, so it's a $3 per unit. Fixed equipment cost as per unit is $1.75. So put together, total cost is 9 per unit. So by seeing this, let us decide whether the component needs to be bought or it should be made. Literally or virtually everyone will be deciding like if we buy it $8, if we make it $9, of course we have to go for buying only because we could be able to save $1 for each product. So $1,000 we could be able to save. Otherwise, if we are making, we are going to lose $1,000 extra. Okay, so obviously we will be thinking about purchasing it instead of making, right? But if we analyze other things, what? All the vendors' quote seems to be favored by the decision, considering the possible effect of factory if the quote is accepted. Okay. But how about that? Another aspect we need to think or we usually used to miss is equipment fixed cost is an allotted cost based on an investment that has already been made. Means the equipment fixed cost of the equipment we given. Whether the machines are we going to install or it is being already installed in our industry, are we going to use that? The existing equipment are we going to use in the sense, then that equipment if you are not using, if we are not using that equipment for making this product, what will happen? The equipment will be kept idle. Otherwise, we are assigning some other task to the particular equipment, is that is fine. If not, the equipment will be idle. So what we need to do, either we don't have that fixed equipment in our industry, that is fine. But we have a fixed in equipment, we invested on that. We need to use that instead of keeping that equipment as ideal. We need to use. If not, if we are providing some other task to that equipment to make it functional without keeping that ideal, then we can think about buying from external. Otherwise, we have to think about how to utilize that because we should not keep it ideal. Ideal in the sense it's again cost will be involved whenever it is ideal. So if that equipment, if we are going to rendered ideal by a decision of buying, the fixed cost of $1.75 continues even the equipment is not in use. Even we are not using, if we are not using that machine, we are keeping it idle in the sense the 1.75 price, $1.75 per unit will be applied even though we are not using. So it's best for us. Again, overhead cost. What is the overhead cost? It includes like a floor, places, indirect labor cost, other costs that will also continue even if the part is stopped. So overhead charges will be there because we have an industry. We don't have any interest industry floor or indirect labors or administrative roles or supervisor roles. We don't have that is different. But if we have a floor places, places and indirect labors are there, we need to provide some salary, wages, and cost for floor, renting, all will be there, right? So if we are buying, then this overhead cost $3 per unit goes away. So by this reasoning, the decision to purchase might cost the company how much? $8 if we are purchasing, but that machineries cost 1.75. The overhead charge is 3. So put together, even though we are paying to the vendor $8, but internally we are wasting our resources. So put together, per unit cost is 12.75 per unit. So now we have to think, if we make it $9, if we buy it, it ends up with $12.75 per unit. So what to do? We have to make it. Otherwise, as I said, if we could use the machineries which is there in our industry and also the overhead charges we are using it for other product for our industry, then we could able to, if we could able to compensate that 1.75 and $3, then buying $8 is good. So that is what it is telling. So make or buy decision is very, very important for all the industry. So we need to consider many aspects, right? So if we are buying, how much cost? If we are making, how much cost? If we are making cost in the sense, we need to split up all the individual product, individual values. If we are buying it means how about that investment we made? How about the resources available in the industry? Are we going to use it for something else or not? With this thing, we have to make a decision. So this is the concept for make or buy decision. So this video, so far we discussed about make or buy decision. Then now I'll be giving introduction about break-even analysis. The break-even analysis, the break-even point. This is a kind of a technique used to identify the quantity of product or quantity of goods a company going to sell, the particular number, how much number we are going to sell. Once we are selling or we sold those many number of product, we'll be covering the cost involved for making them, including like a fixed cost, labor cost, we have include spend on the particular product. Assume we invested some machine, equipment, floor, places, resources, and we started making for a particular product. So we started selling also. So how long we need to sell? How long this is how much quantity we need to sell in order to we get the profit. It's not like selling a one component, two component itself will be getting profit. No. Some point of time we have to wait, means it will be return on investment. Return on investment, like we have to sell some numbers. What is that number? How much number? It depends on what are the costs being involved. That number analyzing is break-even analysis. Okay. So when evaluating an idea for a new product, it is helpful to compute its break-even quantity. Which quantity, how much quantity are we need to make in order to get the investment back? Or at what point of time we'll be getting covered all the investment we made. After that, we started earning profit. Profit not necessarily big, but at least how much we when we will be getting back all our investment what we need. Okay, an assessment can then be made as to how difficult or easy it will be to cover cost and make a profit. The product, the break-even quantity that is hard to attain might not be a good product choice to pursue. So if a product with a break-even quantity that is hard to attain, means it is very difficult to attain because it takes longer time to attain. In the sense, better not to choose that particular product to make in our industry. Okay, so we need to think about this when we are getting some new order. How much order we are going, if we are receiving some order for making new component, we need to think all about this, either make or buy decision and break even. Because for that particular product, we are going to plan something, we are going to invest something. Then how many number of product we make and sell it, we will be getting that investment what we made will be recovered. After that, we started earning some profit. If it is, we are not going to get any profit for particular period. Again, we need to define that period. Not in the sense there is no meaning, right? So we that for that we need to have a break-even analysis. So in break-even analysis, the total cost of producing a product or service is the sum of both the cost. What are the two costs? Fixed cost and variable cost. So we need to understand the two different costs involved in that industry is fixed cost and variable cost. So that is called the total summation of the fixed cost and variable cost is total cost. A company incurs fixed cost regardless of how much it produces. How much I'm going to produce doesn't matter. It is going to invest something. Assume like a one simple service industry, like a two-wheeler service industry. They invest some money on their equipments and tools and like elevator boards or water pump for water washing kind of thing. They don't know like they can't able to say that I'm going to get this many number of services from the places. Yes, they do have a plan, but they don't know exactly. But they need to invest that. So a company definitely will invest something that the fixed cost regardless of how much it do or produce. The fixed costs include overhead charges, taxes, insurance for them. For example, a company must pay overhead even if it is produces nothing. You have to pay some overhead charges even though you are not having any orders for your company. Assume like one restaurant, people are not coming like many number. Again, you need to pay. Maybe you can reduce some labors, but you need to pay some charges for them. Okay, so salary for them. So that is company must. So this will be there whether you have a order or not. So this all considered fixed cost. But variable cost in the other hand, that vary depends on the amount of units we are going to make or we are going to produce. So if we are receiving more order, we do more production. So according to that, the variable cost will be more. Okay. So that also include like a direct material cost and labor cost. Sometimes we receive more order means we recruit more labor, we buy more materials, invest on more material, invest on more tools and more labors kind of thing. So that will come under variable cost. So the combination of fixed cost and variable cost is called as a total cost. So together, fixed and variable costs added up to like a equation is F is representing the fixed cost and VC is representing variable cost. The variable cost is depends on how many number of product we are making, the quantity of product we are making. So F plus variable cost with multiplication of quantity, number of units we are making and selling. So this is what the equation for total cost. The graphical approach for break-even analysis, fixed cost is represented by a horizontal line. So let me show. The fixed cost is represented by a horizontal line as this cost is the same regardless of how much we produce. Because it's a single time, one-time investment, regardless of how many number of products we are making or producing. Doesn't matter, it is initial investment. So this is fixed cost. So this is value. The y-axis is the value, dollars or any unit value, and x-axis is the number of units we are making. Okay. So this is fixed cost, regardless of how many number of products we are making. This is the fixed amount. This vertical line up to from here to here, we have invested this money. We have invested. This is fixed cost. That's what I said. Overhead charges, whether we make it or not, we need to invest, right? So, equipment cost, whether we are using that machine or not, we need to invest. So, this all comes under here, fixed cost. Adding variable cost to fixed costs create a total cost. So, as I said, adding variable cost. What are the variable costs we discussed? Direct material cost, direct labor cost, all be added along with the number of units. Okay, so adding variable cost to the fixed cost, telling us the total cost. Where is the total cost? This is the total cost. That this particular line is telling the total cost. So here, from here, because fixed cost is here, from here only if we started making some unit, assume like if we are started making 10 unit, 500 units, 600 units, 1000 units kind of thing, for that we are going to spend some money for the machine, for the labor, for the material. So then it should start from here, not from the base. It should start from here, adding value, adding value. So this adding value increases when you are increasing the number of quantities. So this green color slant line is explaining the total cost. So here is the total cost, here is the fixed cost. These two lines are very base that. So when Q equal to 0, so when Q is equal to 0, what is the mean when Q equal to 0? When quantity of making or selling is 0 in the sense when here is the 0. So then total cost equal to fixed cost. Yes, when Q equal to 0, total cost equal to fixed cost. As Q increases, total cost increases through the variable cost component, right? Variable cost increases, total cost also increases. Then blue diagonal line. This is the blue diagonal line in the figure is the revenue. Okay, the amount of money bought in from the sale. So we started selling the product. The product is 0. From here we have started selling. Selling here, selling. When we are selling, it will gradually selling means we started collecting fund or money from the product which we are selling, right? So it started increasing. But up to certain point, up to particular point we reach, the company will be getting loss, only feeling experiencing the loss. So up to certain number of product they sell, they meet out this particular point. That point in the sense how much dollar. So up this point is like a we are not going to gain any benefit or profit, or we are not going to get any losses. Up to that particular number of quantity we are selling continuously. For example, 10,000 is the component. 10,000 is the component up to which if we started selling, we won't be losing or we are not going to gain. So this number, if we reach, so this is the ultimate point, break-even point. There, company we won't do any loss or won't be getting any profit also. So this is the break-even point. But once they started selling more number of quantity, the quantity of selling is getting increased. Increased, this is gradually increasing, means side by side the value to the company or dollars in the money to the company will be coming back to us, right? So that it's getting increases, the total revenue getting increases as your quantity getting increased, selling getting increased. So this point is then we can able to see the difference between the total cost and total revenue. So after the break-even point, the difference between total revenue and total cost, the area under this two is considered as profit. So this is profit to our company. Before the break-even point, the difference between your total cost line to your total revenue line is loss. After the particular point of break-even point, the difference between the total revenue line to the total cost line is considered as a profit. So as the sales increases, so does the revenue. Once sales are started increasing, revenue also increases. Remember, however, that to cover all costs, we have to sell the break-even amount. That is the break-even quantity. Quantity break-even. QPBE means break-even quantity. Revenue equal to selling price into quantity. What is revenue? Selling price, because how much value we are selling on particular product into how many number. So that is what we are from here. Remember, it should start from here. But total cost we have to calculate from here. But revenue start from zero. Okay. If we sell below the break-even point, as I said, below the break-even point, we incur losses since cost exceeds the revenue. To make a profit, we have to sell above the break-even point. After the break-even point, if we started selling, we will be getting the profit. Since revenue equal to total cost at break-even point, remember at this particular break-even point, revenue equal to total cost, right? We achieve that. We can use this equation to compute the value of break-even quantity. With this number, we can able to make the calculation of how much break-even quantity we need. Okay. So the break-even quantity number can be calculated like this. At break-even point, total cost, as I said, total cost equal to total revenue. So what is total cost? Fixed cost plus variable cost multiplication of quantity. But revenue is selling price of one product into how many number of product we are selling. So selling price into quantity. So by solving this, we will be able to get the break-even point or break-even quantity number. So break-even quantity number is quantity of the Q we are taking it out. Fixed cost divided by selling price minus variable cost. So fixed cost divided by selling price per unit minus variable cost per unit. By solving this, we can able to achieve break-even quantity. Okay. So this method is suitable for multiple product in the firm. So if we have a multiple product in our industry, we can use the break-even sales equal to fixed cost divided by 1 minus variable cost per unit divided by selling cost per unit. So there is a relationship between fixed cost, variable cost and selling price and total number of quantity we are selling. It may be per unit or total. So total cost is what? Fixed cost plus variable cost. Variable cost means what? Variable cost for a particular unit into total number of products. Then total revenue. What is the revenue means? Selling price into how many number of products we are selling. So with that relationship, we can be able to achieve one more finding that how much quantity we are going to sell it in order to start getting profit. Okay, that is the break-even point. So in that particular point, total cost equal to total revenue. Okay. So with that, I'm going to stop this lecture. In next lecture, we are going to solve some numericals with relationship to the break-even analysis. I hope you guys understood what is meant by make or buy decision and break-even analysis. Okay, thank you.